They speak of peace, while war is quietly being prepared. That is the exact scene unfolding before your eyes. Talks between the United States and Iran are announced, scheduled for Friday. At the very same time, an Iranian drone moves close to an American warship. Armed speedboats harass a U.S. oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. 9 warships already deployed, dozens of fighter jets, as many as 40,000 troops in the region. This is the central contradiction. Diplomacy is officially moving forward, yet every military signal says the opposite. And this disconnect is not accidental, because this moment is not only about Washington or Tehran, it concerns you, your energy supply, your economy, the stability of a region on which a significant part of the world depends. When an American president says that the Ayatollah should be worried, it is not symbolic language. It is a message. What is rarely stated clearly is this: these talks could collapse before they even begin. And if they do, everything already in place serves one purpose only. The real question is not whether talks will take place on Friday. The real question is what is already prepared if Friday goes wrong. Officially, the situation appears simple. U.S.-Iran talks are planned for Friday in Oman. But that framework is misleading. These discussions did not emerge out of nowhere. Just a week ago, no meeting was scheduled. Then suddenly everything accelerated. Maritime incidents, a massive military buildup, public statements suggesting that the military option remains firmly on the table. What is happening here goes far beyond a nuclear negotiation. American officials say they want to shut down Iran's nuclear program, limit its ballistic missiles, end its support for regional armed groups, and stop the repression of protesters. Iran, meanwhile, draws a clear red line, one topic only: the nuclear issue, nothing else. This is where the pattern becomes revealing. Each side claims to be open to dialogue, while sharply restricting what dialogue actually means. What is still missing is crucial. There is no agreement even on the framework of the talks themselves. So ask yourself this: if both sides cannot agree on the rules of the game, how meaningful are last-minute talks supposed to be? The core reality is this: these negotiations are happening under pressure, not by choice, and the evidence is visible. A U.S. official warns Iran against provocative actions, while confirming that the special envoy Steve Witkoff is already in the region, ready to meet Iranian counterparts. In plain terms, incidents are multiplying while envoys are on the move. This is no coincidence. It is a test of nerves. Washington openly states its objectives, while Tehran makes access to negotiations increasingly difficult by narrowing the agenda before sitting down. Iran is not seeking a comprehensive deal. It is buying time. And what is never spelled out is what happens if even this minimal framework fails. That is when the situation begins to shift gears. As preparations continue, the pressure intensifies. The American president hints that failure could convince the White House to take further military action. These are not empty words. The forces are already there. Warships, fighter jets, tens of thousands of troops. Everything is visible. Everything is deliberate. This posture follows a familiar logic: limited, rapid demonstrations of force without a large-scale ground invasion. What makes the current situation different is how normalized this thinking has become, without any serious discussion of how escalation would be controlled. Strikes are mentioned, pressure is discussed, signals are sent, long-term consequences are not. And when threats become routine, they lose their deterrent effect. They become a slippery slope. A key detail then changes the entire reading of events, while Washington insists that talks must cover far more than the nuclear issue. Iran publicly states the opposite. Its foreign minister announces that negotiations will take place and will focus solely on the nuclear program. Shortly afterwards, Washington offers no clear contradiction, no correction, just silence. That silence matters, according to American officials cited by Al Jazeera. The United States has agreed to limit the first round to nuclear issues, postponing everything else for later: missiles, regional proxies, internal repression. This is the contradiction at the heart of the process. Publicly, officials say that focusing only on the nuclear file will not work. In practice, that is exactly what is happening. Here is the sentence that reframes everything: Iran does not need an immediate deal. It needs negotiations to exist, even if they fail, even if they are temporary. Because as long as talks continue, strikes do not. From that point on, the real issue is no longer what is being negotiated, but what is being deliberately deferred. Meanwhile, events pile up. Talks are announced, then canceled, then reinstated within hours. Oman is confirmed as the venue, far from cameras and capitals. Each signal corrects the previous one, without ever clarifying the direction. At the same time, Iran's internal situation weighs heavily. Protests crushed. Internet shut down, thousands killed, tens of thousands arrested. Officially, the streets are calm. In reality, they have been silenced. And it is precisely at this moment that American pressure intensifies, linking military threats not only to the nuclear issue, but to repression itself. Add another factor. The American president is known to prefer deals over wars, but also to act abruptly when deadlines expire. History offers a reminder. 60 days of diplomacy. Then on the 61st day, strikes began before dawn. Everything accelerates while remaining officially under control. But when signals contradict each other so sharply, a question becomes unavoidable. What happens if this dynamic continues for weeks? To answer that, you have to step outside negotiation rooms and look at real-world consequences, because the Strait of Hormuz is not an abstract line on a map. It is a choke point for global oil and gas. A disruption there affects entire economies. Gulf states understand this. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Bahrain, Oman, all sit along that coastline, all host American bases. All would be immediately exposed to retaliation. One strike on energy infrastructure, one serious disruption to shipping, prices spike, markets panic, supply chains seize up. This is not ideology, it is mechanics. And that is why these states have pushed Washington to keep diplomacy alive, not out of sympathy, but out of fear of a spiral they cannot control. Crises like this do not begin with explosions. They begin with prolonged tension that everyone believes they can manage until they cannot. What enables this situation is not just rivalry between two states, but the system surrounding it. Pressure becomes currency. Military displays generate fear. Fear creates urgency. Urgency forces negotiations for Washington. Deployment shows options without immediate action. For Tehran, talks loosen the pressure, even temporarily. Image matters as much as reality. A visible warship can matter more than an actual strike. An announcement of talks can calm markets without solving anything. The most troubling aspect is this: the system rewards stagnation. As long as talks exist, pressure can be paused. As long as pressure is paused, no structural concessions are required. The status quo becomes the goal. That is why this is not a classic negotiation. It is time management. Each side stretches the rope, hoping it will not snap. The longer this continues, the higher the risk of miscalculation. Two paths now exist. One is publicly advertised. Talks produce a minimal statement, vague timelines, a temporary focus on nuclear issues. Markets calm, the Gulf breathes, nothing is resolved, only delayed. The second path is quieter. Talks stall, red lines harden, forces remain deployed, exercises continue, warnings intensify, until a minor incident forces a rapid decision. Both paths can coexist: diplomacy on the surface, maximum pressure beneath it. And the longer this dual logic persists, the more inevitable the next move becomes. These talks are not designed to solve the crisis. They are designed to contain it, to buy time, to manage perception, while real leverage remains untouched. In one sentence, the more visible the military pressure, the more fragile the negotiation becomes, even when it appears to be moving forward. That is why this moment matters, not because a historic agreement is imminent, but because the region is entering a phase where every delay creates as much risk as it avoids. The next decisive moment may not come from a meeting room in Oman, but from an unexpected incident at sea, far from the cameras. The loop is not closing, it is tightening.